welcome to the realm of white sea bass fishing. Where the pursuit of this elusive fish becomes a way of life.
When you interact with any animal and you make that eye contact, each trying to figure each other out.
See, the animals that you're hunting are basically in a daily struggle for survival. Now we just go visit.
Fishermen from all walks of life converge on this fish for a chance at glory.
You have to really put the time in to get those moments to line up. And there's no magic calendar that tells you when to be there. You just have to put in the time.
Patience, acceptance.
And go as much as you can.
A story of resilience, exploitation, and ultimately redemption. White sea bass is a majestic fish that has ebbed and flowed over the last century.
The white sea bass has a certain beauty to it.
Your first white sea bass is very memorable. It's like your first kiss.
For eons, they've kind of done this dance.
You find them and then you go back the next day and they're not there anymore.
This fish probably shows who you really are as opposed to any other kind of fishing.
Hunting for white sea bass is a delicate dance. You have to be one with the sea.
Being out of the city and urban life and putting yourself into an environment that is unlike what we normally live in.
There's something really special about being underwater and having a fish approach you and just using all your skill and quietness to take the fish or not.
It's really something that's difficult to explain to people who haven't felt it themselves. It's a very primal connection to who we are, what we are as a species.
With each ripple in the water, the story of the white sea bass shares a story of resilience and hope.
We're trying to prevent a commercial extinction.
Is there something we could do proactively using hatchery fish to put back into the ocean to help Mother Nature bring these stocks back?
It's a big picture. You can't just look at one picture and come to a conclusion. You have to look at it as everything.
Together, we can celebrate the triumphs of conservation, ensuring the legacy of white sea bass endures the test of time.
You know, I dove for over 50 years, hunted white sea bass for thousands of hours, and I was fortunate enough to get a shot at one of them. So 50 years, 5 opportunities, 1 shot.
Mike Raabe, how are you, my friend?
Good, nice to meet you.
It is so good. Well, we met at Dana Point, right?
Yeah, at the premiere.
My God, what a film. Ghosts of the Pacific. Beautifully shot, wonderfully edited, the narration. I can't say enough about this film. Everybody out there should want to see it.
Awesome. Yeah, it was quite the undertaking, and I'm so glad that it was received well. And that night was so awesome to see all the people show up. And,
Oh man, there was standing room only.
Yeah, it was hot in there.
Yeah, it really was. As I watch that, as a guy who shoots video amateurishly, that's me, and edits amateurishly, I looked at that and I said, that would take me 10,000 years to edit that the way that it was shot and edited and so beautifully done. Congratulations, man.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I had a very good team that worked really hard on it. I did most of the underwater shooting, or basically all of it, but I had other guys shoot the interviews with me, and then I had an editor help me. And I had a sound guy that did amazing. I don't know if you heard all those sound effects.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a nice cherry on top, was the sound design.
100%. Why white sea bass? Of all the species of fish that you could have focused on, you picked the ghost, the one that befuddles anglers.
The hard one.
Just about yeah, exactly.
Because I love them. And I think in 2009 I caught my first one, and I was just enthralled. And every spring, it's just like getting in the cold water and kind of grinding it out and finding them before everybody else does, so you can spend a little time with them is the goal for me. So yeah, it's just the drive and the ability to find them in certain areas was really just like, I think I could make a film doing this. So.
Yeah, you did, man. It's great. What about your professional career? Just maybe by way of introduction to the audience that don't know you, Mike. What have you done? And obviously, you've been doing some film editing and some really great stuff before this.
Yeah, I'm a photographer, cinematographer. I moved to California in 2005 to go to Brooks Institute of Photography, and I graduated in 2008 and immediately moved to LA. And I was working for other photographers, but I was always doing the underwater stuff because in my eyes, I just always wanted to be an underwater photographer. And slowly but surely, I picked up more and more jobs and started filming white sea bass more and more. I made a couple of YouTube videos that were called, what are they called? Oh, man.
You don't look that old to start forgetting things already.
I know. I'm so, Ghost of the Pacific is, I made two. Can I look it up real quick?
Sure. Heck yeah. This is a free-flowing podcast here, man.
Oh, man. I can't believe...
You're doing your Joe Biden imitation, right? Is that what you're doing right now? Huh? Come on.
Exactly.
The political humor doesn't go over well during this time of year.
Some people, they're going to be like, dude, because they were popular white sea bass videos. But I made them on YouTube, and it was a lot of white sea bass footage and a little bit of spearfishing, and it got, like, the spear fishermen loved it, and then I was like, I got to make something more. I wanted to further my career, and I was always working for other people, and I thought if I can make a documentary and do it well, then potentially sell it, and also just have maybe producers decide to hire me to do more documentaries.
My prediction is this is going to come to you in about 10 minutes, by the way, if you don't find it there.
Oh, I'm going to find it right here. Green Reaper.
There you are. Green Reaper.
So I had Green Reaper 1 and Green Reaper 2.
Why that name?
Because everything's green, and we're reapers underwater.
That's true. That's so true. But I did notice. I mean, sometimes you notice with fishermen and spear fishermen and everybody, they kind of get demonized. But throughout the film, there's this deep, abiding respect for nature, for the environment, and specifically for the white sea bass.
Well, yeah, I think it's important as fishermen and spear fishermen, we are the shepherds of the sea, so to speak, and we are the ones that are in the ocean seeing what's going on, maybe more than the scientists are. They have data, but we have experience and seeing what's going on, and we have the responsibility of seeing what's going on and choosing what we want to catch and what we don't want to catch, especially as spear fishermen. So to me, it was very important to show that in the documentary. And I think with some of the guys like Matt Lum and Ryan and Skip Helen that are in the documentary, they really express that and show that, it's not just about killing everything or, harvesting. It's about respecting the ocean and taking what you need, not what you want necessarily, and, enjoying those fish.
Let's talk about the spearfishing for a moment. Man, that is an arduous day in the water sometimes. It can be very, very long. One wrong move and you can spook the school.
Yep.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can spend... in 2019, I did an article for Outdoor Life magazine. I did a photo essay, and it took me 30 days of diving for white sea bass to get somebody, Chris Oak, to catching one with me. And it was so arduous. It was the first year that we had like all the kelp gone on the coast mostly, and it was really hard to...
Was that due to an El Nino or something in warm water?
Yeah, we had big storms in the winter. It just ripped out all the kelp, and that was my first year of really having no kelp to hunt. And it was a huge learning experience for me because I didn't really know what to do. We kept diving the same areas we always do, hoping that they just kind of show up, and they kind of did, but they showed up like super shallow. And people were getting in and out of the water off the beach were catching them, but people on boats weren't really catching them.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And so I spent so much time. I started in March, and it wasn't until the beginning of May I finally got a fish and captured it on camera and everything and did the article. But even the deadline for that was in April, and he saw how hard I was working to do it. He's like, dude, I think we have like 2 more weeks before I really need the photos. He's like, just keep going.
Keep grinding it out.
Yeah, so it's all that's what white sea bass diving is grinding because you could think you're the best or whatever, and they're extremely humbling because when you think you probably don't know.
What's one of the strangest things or perplexing things or enigmatic things that you can tell our viewers about white sea bass? Maybe we have some people watching who are not fishermen and just interested in that particular species.
I mean,
what's cool about those
I think
things?
the coolest thing about them is that they croak. They basically talk to each other.
Pretty cool, right?
And when you're diving, you can hear that. And sometimes it gives you this hope. You're like, all right, I just spent the last 2 or 3 hours out here and didn't see anything. And then you start hearing them, like they come in on the high tide or, whatever it may be. And you can hear the school, from over here start croaking, and then they might end up being on that side of your. And it's hard to hear underwater, the direction, but when you're moving through the kelp, you can kind of tell, like, oh, this is getting farther away or closer, and it really can indicate they're there. But sometimes, like Catalina, you'll dive and this deafening sound, and you're like, they're here. No one sees any in the kelp.
That is weird.
They're probably I don't know. They're probably in the 100 feet of water circling around in the sand, and it's just bouncing off the island, and you can hear it. But the croaking is super cool. There's 3 different kinds of croak. There's courting, courtship, and then spawning. And
can you tell the difference?
Yeah, because one's like 1 pulse train, and the courtship is 2 pulse trains, and then the spawning is just them going crazy. So it's pretty cool to hear.
Sounds like human beings actually too.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool to hear all the different croaks, and I was able to record some of them on a hydrophone for the documentary.
Yeah, it was great.
And then I also Scott Alberts let me use some of his croak. He's for Flager Institute of Environmental Research. He's like
Tom Flager does a lot of great work.
Yeah, him and Chugi, they do a lot of great work.
Yes, absolutely.
And, he was a big part of the documentary. He was kind of the guy I relied on for learning about white sea bass and bouncing ideas off him. So,
Chewy or Tom or both?
Oh, sorry, Scott.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he was a big part of the documentary.
That's awesome. Have you experimented with like playing the croaking sound and trying to attract fish? Has anybody done that?
So Scott had talked about it a little bit, but he said the military's tried to play sounds. You need such a large speaker and such a low frequency that's not really possible to do.
Yeah.
So
I can see it.
I mean, everyone's like, oh, like we should play it and bring them in, but it's just not like, I don't think it's possible. But.
Man, you and I, we will sell those things to every fisherman on the coast if that thing works, right? Oh my God, that is so cool. And another thing about sea bass is that their size. They're such a big fish. They are such a cool fish. I love catching sea bass.
Oh yeah, and the big schools that they're in, it's so amazing. Like some of the schools that I got to capture on camera, whether it was underwater or with the drone, was just like unbelievable. It was like pinching myself. I don't know if you remember the courtship behavior where they're all spinning around in a circle.
Yes.
I was at like 5:30 in the morning. Like,
wow.
It was, pitch black out and we could see it happening. I was like, let's get a little bit brighter before I can fly the drone so I could actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I couldn't believe that it was happening right there.
That was at Catalina, wasn't it?
That was not at Catalina.
Was that a secret where it was? No, you can keep it. You don't have to say.
It wasn't on an island.
Come on, Mike. Where was it?
It was on the coast.
Okay.
But at the same time, I spent the month prior to that, I went to Santa Cruz because it was happening big time at Santa Cruz Island. And I just was there a day late, dollar short every time. Like it was like maybe happening in small groups, but I just wasn't able to capture it. And then lo and behold, on Mother's Day, it happened. That footage came on Mother's Day. And what killed me is there was 8 divers ascending from the beaches, and it was a race to film it before they, because they could see what we were doing.
Oh, wow. That must have been pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is that nobody got a fish that day that I know of, those 8 guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but that race, I mean, you're like, man, I need this footage. I know from my perspective, you get a shot or you can see something like that, you need to get it. So that must have been really awesome.
Yeah, like, they have, their right to fish and whatnot, but it was it was like, come on, guys, like, just
give me a break.
Give me a little bit more time. Because as the sun goes up, the exposure gets better and better, and I get better quality pictures and video, but, it is what it is.
Yeah. Talking to Ed McEwen, who's passed away, but he's an old-time fisherman, used to run the Pacific Queen. He used to tell me, and he fished Cortez Bank for white sea bass and several areas, but he would tell me that he had come upon huge schools of white sea bass mid-channel, Catalina Island, moving from place to place. So those fish, do they move quite a bit? Are they?
Yeah, so their migration is actually pretty hard to quantify. But kind of moved from the south to the north, and I think it has a lot to do with temperature and prey. Like I think the squid and the sardines as they move up. I think it's more not like a Pacific temperature, but more the change of temperature in the springtime that kind of like starts the flow of them moving up the coast. But yeah, they can go all the way up to they catch 80 pounders in Bodega Bay.
Yeah.
And I have some friends up north that have caught some huge ones too. And so you just, it takes a little longer in the year for them to get up there. But, down here is kind of, you could catch them in February, but, March is kind of like early season for spearfishing at least. And then April, May is kind of prime time in June. And the islands, June, July. But, as the water warms up, I think they all kind of just move up the coast a little bit. And it's all based on spawning though.
Yes.
Because they're eating, trying to replace their body weight as much as they can. Because a large female will release 3 million eggs per spawn.
Wow.
They'll do that 10 times a year.
Gee, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. No wonder that fishery rebounded then. So, right?
Yeah.
Because it was pushed to the brink of extinction for people that don't know, right? It was going down the tubes.
Yeah, basically not commercially viable to fish them anymore. It was so much so that in the 70s, all the gillnetters were going down to Mexico to catch them.
Yeah.
Because there just wasn't fish to be caught here. And then in 1982, Mexico banned foreign gill netting or foreign commercial boats in their Mexican waters. And that was kind of the end of the commercial fishery, so to speak, to what it was like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah. I remember being a pinhead, novice deckhand on the Redondo Special back in probably 74. And we were at Point Vincenti, and a woman with a rental tackle was on this big fish, and we were coaching her and trying to help her. And up from the depths came this enormous white sea bass. Wow. And I looked at it and I said, "What is it?" Because we'd never seen one, man. Mm-hmm. It was so rare.
Oh, wow.
And Barney Barnes, who was the captain, came down and gaffed it. He wasn't going to trust me with that one, a 12-year-old kid. And he said, "It's a white sea bass." And I'm like, oh, my God, my jaw, just hanging, just in amazement looking at this fish. So, yeah, it's so rare to see back in that time. Mike, you're so right about that.
And then so when did you start catching white sea bass? Like in the late 90s?
Yeah, probably. And then it became like what a fishery. Like the rebound to that fishery now has been incredible. The epicenter, I remember very well. This is going to get me in trouble, but my firstborn son, Philip, was born while I was fishing for white sea bass. Catalina, I got my biggest fish, 69 pounds. And so we had an incredible bite that day.
That's awesome.
At Catalina. And he you would think he'd be like, "Yeah, thanks, Dad." But he's like, "Yeah, my dad, he got a huge white sea bass while I was born." So, yeah, that was 91. So, and that was really good fishing in those days. And now, man, you see the Channel Islands.
It's amazing.
Lately, it's been the epicenter of fantastic sea bass fishing.
Totally, yeah.
Why does that move, in your opinion? Is it oceanography? Is it water temp and bait and all that stuff combined?
I think it's water temp and bait. Yeah, I think it's I think very complicated, and I certainly don't know for sure. But yeah, I think it's mostly bait and water temperature.
The film not only focuses in on spearfishermen, it talks to anglers also. You have the angling perspective in the film, which was great.
Yeah, I had Brandon Hayward from Bite Sport Fishing. I went on his boat and kind of interviewed him while he was fishing. And Kathy Needleman, which some people know.
Yeah.
She was great. And I got to film her catching some fish. And she actually has caught a 78-pounder, which would be the women's world record.
That's a nice one.
She doesn't care, so it's unofficial.
Oh, okay. She's not interested in the record or anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great to be on their boat for a few days and capture that. And we even were able to donate that fish in the documentary was 30 inches. And the DFG and Pier are doing research about sexual maturity of the fish. So we were able to donate that fish, and they did some studies on it.
Listening to you, I feel like we know less about the white sea bass than we have the potential to learn so much more about that fish.
I think
Do you agree?
Yeah. It's just, these Pier or DFG are going to spend their money on to research the fish. But yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah,
but there's also they've learned a lot too, like learning about all the croaking and how they spawn and whatnot is all pretty well studied, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, you didn't just go out like on a weekend and shoot this film. How long have you been working on this before you put it all together?
I officially started shooting this in February of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, so 3.5 years basically. My daughter was born December of 2020, and a couple months after that, I started doing the documentary. So it's almost as old as her.
Yeah. and when you're doing this kind of work, the payoff is not evident. This is going to be a labor of love for you.
Yes.
And then maybe you get a payoff, but that's not a guarantee, right?
Yep. Yeah. It was just a labor of love, a passion project that I just really wanted to do. I looked at it as I work as a camera operator, photographer, and I do like some cool stuff, but I wanted to make my own thing and hopefully be able to produce more things like that. If you got to kind of in the Hollywood world, you got to produce stuff and make it, and then people are all right. You got to check mark, and you can maybe we'll hire you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the game plan that I had for it. And now it's to the point where I'm doing these screenings up and down the coast, and I have a sales agent to try to sell the documentary. And fingers crossed, it gets sold, and maybe you'll see it on our streaming platform next year.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if not, because it is really, really well done. You had some of the old timers in the spear fishing business also, like Skip and some of those guys. It's great to hear their perspective on this whole thing, right?
Totally, yeah. It was great to hear because he's been through the span. He's spearfishing for 50 years, so he spearfished when you couldn't find him at all, and then he shot the world record, I think, in 1990.
Yeah,
and then just how the fishery has changed. We're catching 70, 80 pounders. I don't want to say regularly, but it's certainly I caught my first 70 pounder this year.
Jeez, that's a nice fish, dude.
Yeah,
Where was that?
In PB.
Oh, okay. Was that a private boat?
Short of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, the cool thing, it was a male. So males are kind of thought to only be 50, 55 pounds. And this was a 70-pound male. So
wow.
Actually, Scott, he was like, I don't think I've ever heard of a 70-pound male.
That's awesome, man.
So it was pretty cool. I took the gonads out and sent it to them, and they studied them. I don't know what they found, but it was pretty cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. and it seems like those tankers, a term we use to refer to giant sea bass, it seems like they're on the coast a lot of times, doesn't it?
They do. It does seem like there are more tankers and big fish on the coast, but there certainly are. If you look at the history of Catalina, there's a lot of 70-pounders taking Catalina.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, that day when Philip was born, mine was 69. I think there was a couple guys on there that had fish bigger than that. Oh, wow. We were into a bite on big fish on a boat called the Phantom, and Captain Larry Moore was running it. It was a spectacular day. So
do you remember you were in squid or mackerel, or what was your?
Yeah, no, we were using squid, and we were on the squid grounds. If I remember, like Ben Weston area, something like that.
Yep.
And I think we got bit. Yeah, right at daybreak, and it was one of those bites, Mike, where you could literally there were boats spread all through there, Ben Weston, maybe Silver Canyon, and that whole zone there, and you'd see these guys, 12 boats down, get bit. And then you'd see these guys get bit, and we're going, oh, shoot, the school's swimming through. We're next. And that anticipation, much like when you hear that croaking, I'm sure that anticipation, you're like, oh, they're here, man. Here they come.
It's hard. Sometimes you just dive down and just try not to move because you know they're going to come swim by you.
Yeah.
There's many different techniques in hunting and spearfishing-wise, but that is a great one. When you know they're around, I try to hide in the kelp stalk. I'll dive down a kelp stalk and try to be as inconspicuous as possible. Just sit on the bottom and wait, and maybe creep along the bottom if I need to. But that's when they're around like that, that's the best way to do it, I think.
Stealth. That's the thing, right?
Stealth. Yeah, it's either that or be on the surface.
Yeah.
And when they're spawning like that and you're in the kelp, they'll swim right under you. They're it's kind of like a deer or a buck. They don't care.
They're out of it at that point. They've got other things on their mind.
They have other things on their mind, that's for sure.
But other times they spook easy, right?
Oh yeah, when they're not in that, or maybe they've been shot a few times, it's super hard to get close to them. They're any noise they hear, they're gone. And I think that's the big thing is noise. Their lateral lines are strong, but they're not. It's not like a mackerel or sardine that are super sensitive lateral lines. It's their hearing, and that's what. At least spearfishing wise, we take their otoliths out of their spine. That's kind of the antlers of the white sea bass, and those are the ear bones. So that's what is used to hear.
They're lateral lines. You mentioned that. Maybe you could explain that to everybody. That's how they hear things, right?
Well, yeah, their
Or
lateral
sense-
line is how like they feel movement in the water. So
Yeah.
it goes from like kind of behind their eye, and it goes all the way down the to the tail. And some fish you could see it, like a dogtooth tuna. Their lateral line, it looks like a weld down their body. And yeah, so if you go like this, the fish will feel that the water pushing through it. So I have footage of one guy. He extended his gun and hesitated, and I swear the fish felt the hesitation. That if he just like went like this and shot, he would have shot the fish. But he went like this and stopped, and when he stopped, the fish felt it and took off. And it was like a 60+ pound fish.
Oh my God!
And I remember I was filming him doing it. I remember punching him in the arm, like, dude, like what?
No kidding, man.
Because you don't get that many opportunities to film that.
Yo, my God! And when you started shooting this, you love spearfishing, right? But you sound like me because you told me I didn't shoot a fish for a couple of years because I was shooting film all the time. And I have people walk up to me all the time and say, you don't like to fish anymore? And it's not that you don't like to fish or you don't like to spearfish, but you've got like another kind of goal in mind, right?
Well, I look at it as fishing or spearfishing is instant gratification. Or if I can capture this and make the documentary that I made, that lasts a lifetime, and
100%.
It means so much more than the instant gratification of catching it. Don't get me wrong. There's times where filming or whatever, it's like,
God darn.
But I'll tell you a story. I was at Kappa Island one time diving for yellowtail, and I was down at like 40, 50 feet, and I heard one croak, and I turned around, and this giant wall of fish from over here, above me, below me, it had to be 1,000 fish.
Whoa.
Swam right up to me. And some swam below me, and I speared one, and it was cool.
You get to pick whatever, right? Yeah, it was cool, but what?
It was cool, but if I could have filmed that, it would have been 1,000 times better experience. So it was like, when I started filming the white sea bass documentary, I was like, as much as I want to spearfish sometimes, it's like, if I have a gun in my hand and not the camera, and there's a magical moment like that, I'll hate myself.
Yeah.
And there was actually a couple times, the third and fourth year, I was at Catalina, and I had a school of like 20 fish. I was down 50 feet on the bottom, and they came right up the current. And I was like, I shot one, cool, but that was a moment where I was like, I should have my camera in my hand.
Yeah.
So it's, give and take.
100%, man. And like the people you capture in those videos also, they get to have that as a memory for a lifetime and share that with family and friends. I know when I get a kid that's caught his first tuna or something on film, it's like,
yeah, it's amazing.
It's cool for the kid.
It's great for the kid. It's also, I love giving that to whoever I'm with. Like, that's a memory that they'll get to show their kids and, memorialize for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go too much further, you have some premieres coming up that you could tell the audience about. Where are they and how can we attend?
The first one is this coming Thursday in San Diego at Landmark's Hillcrest Cinema at 7 p.m. It's a Thursday. And that has about 30 seats left. I think it'll probably sell out. And then I have in Santa Cruz on the 8th and 9th of November. Those are sold out already at Amadeo Bachar's new studio. And then I have another one in LA in Torrance at the AMC Rolling Hills 20.
That's great.
On the 16th at 7 p.m. That's a Saturday, so that should be a fun night.
Yeah.
And then I'm tentatively going to do one in Santa Barbara, and then hopefully one in Sacramento too. So we'll see.
Is there Q&A with you at these events?
Yeah, at the end I'll do like a little Q&A. I haven't quite figured out the PA system to do that. But yeah, I have the space rented out for enough time to do Q&As at all of them.
And for advanced purchase of tickets at those venues, or do people just show up that night?
So I have links that you can put on the bottom, and
perfect.
Yeah, it's Eventbrite links to get purchased, and all the money that goes to it is the proceeds will go to submitting the film to film festivals, and then hopefully getting in them, and then me traveling to them.
Yeah. Oh my God. Heck yeah.
Because that's like kind of like you got to go to these things if you get in, and hopefully you build some relationships, and that's how it either gets sold or maybe you get future jobs doing similar things. So it's a big part of it.
Well, if anybody deserves it, Mike, it's you, because I sat there in awe, and in fact, I came with a friend of mine, Mackie, and his wife could care less about fishing or anything like that. My wife, same thing. My wife doesn't speak English, so she would have been lost during that. But his wife, getting back to her, she loved it. She thought it was awesome. She thought from the filming and learning something about the species which says a lot about the film because, you know, all of us who are into catching white sea bass, we're going to sit there and just love this film.
Yep.
But when you can appeal to somebody outside of that, that says a lot about the film.
Totally, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And that's like the goal is to get just the regular person that doesn't know anything about white sea bass to love the film or just love the ocean and appreciate what's going on. And we can, like I said, be shepherds of the sea and kind of show people that fishermen aren't just, you know, raping the ocean of fish. We're smart about it and we care what's going on, and we are the forefront of that.
I can't think of a better way to end this fantastic podcast and interview, unless there's something I didn't ask you or something else you wanted to say, Mike.
No, that's good.
Mike, it has been a pleasure, my friend. Great film. Fantastic. I hope everybody out there goes and checks it out. And then in the future, will it stream somewhere? Or
yeah, I'm hoping that I can sell it to, you know, Nat Geo or Disney Plus.
Perfect.
Or some kind of platform like that. And hopefully it'll be streaming in 2025 or somewhere soon after that.
Perfect. Mike, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.